Hello, everybody. So today, the main thing on the white notes I have is to get into CSS. That's the other main language we're looking at this semester, cascading style sheets, which that will be an important one for the SDEV degree program in general, because I believe everybody whose names I see up here is either working on an SDEV certificate or the SDEV, one of the associate degrees for SDEV. And HTML5, there is a standard for how we do the styling and colors and layouts and how the appearance is set up. There is a standard language for that in HTML5. But most of our programming languages, there's no standard to. So what people went ahead and did is they implemented the place where there is a standard. So almost all of our programming languages, when we get into GUI packages and other programming languages and stuff, do accept CSS. So it is an across the board thing for styling. There's a standard in one place, so we might as well use that in the places where there's not a standard. Programmers didn't have a whole lot of trouble adding something into the languages when they wanted it there. So it is a very useful one, and it helps to make it consistent when you do the front end, anytime you're doing front end stuff. But it is the standard for what we're studying in this class, so we'll take a look at that. I sent out an announcement this morning. I was having trouble uploading things to the hosting site, the free hosting site. You get what you pay for, right? So there seemed to be running out of sockets, and it was getting the files, but the server didn't seem to have a way to confirm that it got the files. And until that confirmation is sent, it doesn't actually put them on there. I just tested right before class. When I logged on to one of these laptops up here, I went ahead and threw a file on there, and it worked fine this time. So if there's ever an issue with it not going on the free hosting site, that's not going to cause a problem with the late submission. Just throw it in the comments or send me an email and be like, it's not, can't seem to upload to the free site. Then you get what you pay for. Budgets are tight on the way through school, so I definitely didn't want you to go out and pay for a site. So we'll just make do with the free one. And if it continues to be a problem, I was thinking, well, maybe if we switch to another one, I'll go through the whole process of picking another free one and show you that, because that would probably be a whole lot more useful than me just telling you, okay, use the thing at this address. We'll see how to narrow them down. There's no shortage of them. The AWS is there as well, but a couple of reasons I wasn't super excited about using AWS for this. For one, it does take some server administration, because Amazon Web Services is just a blank server, and you set it up the way you want it, which can be an awful lot for people in their first semester, which this class is a lot of people's first semester. Everybody that's here right now I've had in previous classes, so it's none of y'all's first semester, but still, server admin and administrating a server when you're just starting to learn about IT can be a lot. There's also the fact that AWS, they got the start and end date of the semester from school. Previously, I would set that date a week or so before the actual class started and a week or so after, so there's time to migrate stuff. But it will shut down because that's not a free one. And one thing that students often want to do on their way through school is build a portfolio, and website portfolio is a great place for that. Another excellent idea for a class project here is get a start on portfolio. You might probably want that at some point. And so if AWS ends at the end of the class, you can't really host your portfolio there and build it. So a free hosting site would work well for that on your way through school. Keep in mind though, once you graduate, you get what you pay for thing. Along with that, once you graduate and you're making good software developer money, lots of itemized deductions from tax season. Riley. Put his name on the list. Okay, yeah, so right there. maybe I'll be back. Yes, so what was it? What point was that to? Oh yeah, when you're making really good money, you're gonna want lots of business expenses to write on your tax form. Because as you're getting started in the your jobs that you've worked previously, when you got to tax season, making a refund or it might kind of come out evenly. But once you graduate and you're making really good software developer money, the IRS is going to want a big chunk of it. So you're going to, at that point, you're going to want to have lots of business expenses you can itemize on your taxes, and paying for websites is a nice. So for class, we'll use a free one. And if there's trouble, don't worry about it affecting your grade. Just let me know that there was trouble, because it's a free site and you get what you pay for. And if it becomes an issue, we will just kind of we'll play it by ear. Maybe I'll go through the whole process of how I pick a hosting site. Most of the other free hosting sites don't show advertisements. So we get a few more tools for free on that one. That was the main reason I picked that one. But it is certainly not the only one. Pretty much every company that does hosting sites also has a free version as well. Just have free versions and an upgraded paid for version. So I need to log on to Zoom here. I thought I already logged on, but it's apparently not there on this computer. Well, this starts out, by the way, Bradley, when I saw Scott sitting in the hall the other day, I remembered exactly. I think I pictured his face a couple times when I was trying to remember, but I only knew Scott's last name from an email exchange. So I guess it didn't quite form the connection when you said his first and last name.
Okay, well, he knew you. So
What's that?
I said he knew you.
Yeah, as soon as I saw him sitting in the hall, I was like, oh, Scott, and ran over there and talked to him for a while. But I don't see his last name in a couple of emails, and
yep,
those emails were coming from him from a conversation previously, so I may not have even looked at the last name really.
yep.
Let's see. Oh, I need the meeting numbers. But yeah, right before class, the other day, having a little bit of trouble logging on there, and then right before class, I tried this morning, then a few minutes ago when I logged on, I was able to upload some stuff fine to the server. So hopefully those free domain hosts will work. We'll adjust it if need be, because yeah, that portfolio idea is one of the big ones. Students often want to build a portfolio, and for hosting everything on AWS sites, that's going to shut down at the end of the semester. And as students, it might not really be in your budget to pay for a site on AWS all the way through school. Afterwards, it's a tax write-off. Website expenses for software developers. So then paying lots of money for software is kind of nice, because the IRS doesn't hurt you as much for making such a big salary. But while in school, that extra little bill's a bit much. So we will definitely find a free one to use. I don't want to use audio. But one of the things I wanted to show the other day that didn't show up, and it's a problem that often happens. I want to make sure I show it explicitly. So 5 minutes ago, that server was working fine, so hopefully it still is. Unless it was an issue with the Mac, but I'll deal with that in a moment. One of the last things I did that I wasn't able to get on the server, where we downloaded this picture for our example and just called it landscape and all lowercase letters. And one of the last things I did before the server wasn't cooperating, so open with Notepad++ here. This is another classic text editor. It's got a lot of features. There's lots and lots of languages. If you haven't encountered Notepad++ before, it is Windows specific, but there's a huge list of programming languages that it knows, so it can do all the color changing and predicting the text for. A big list there. medium grade text editor so that we can configure it to run our code right here. But still a few less steps than what we typically refer to as an IDE. But a very popular text editor you might hear referred to occasionally. Oh yes, so the last thing I did is I kind of spelled it wrong here. I used an uppercase L, which you may remember or may have already been well aware of. That doesn't hurt anything on Windows. Windows doesn't care whether we use uppercase or lowercase letters. But we usually host our sites on Linux machines. And Linux machines are case sensitive, so that does become a problem. So I just wanted to show it. You will most likely see it at some point this semester, for sure. I'll bring it back in while this loads up. And hopefully it's going to work. Oh, I did a bunch of shopping yesterday, so it would stop showing gold. Stop showing gold coins. Yeah, for years I've just periodically got little bits of wax and carved fancy little shapes for eventually doing lost wax method of making little gold jewelry and things. And tried to buy a few grams, and I guess the targeted advertising now noticed that, oh, you bought a couple grams of gold to, well, I was going to melt, and I've already got little wax shapes to put in a mold, and then we pour molten gold in it, the wax evaporates very, very quickly. So it's a very traditional way to make jewelry. But the targeted advertising definitely noticed I bought a little bit. And I guess seems to be under the assumption that's the only thing I want to buy now. I spent a whole lot of time just randomly shopping to get those ads to show something else. But I don't know, something in their algorithms must be set funny like that. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work. I tested right before class. So once we get our stuff there, we can take the files and upload them to the server. Hopefully. You know what? I tested on the other machine. I bet it's something, a setting on my PC here. Does anybody else have trouble uploading to the hosting site? I know several people have turned things in, so it must have been okay. Maybe there's a setting on my PC that I forgot I changed or something, because it doesn't seem to be working. So I'll go over to the other machine and try it here.
I had trouble making a new photo for it.
Okay. If there's issues like that, that's clearly on their end, don't worry about that. We can extend dates and stuff. Uh-oh.
Plus, when I was making it, I put my regular email instead of my school email, so I didn't know if I had to remake it or not.
Oh, it'll be fine. Because all you're submitting to me, Zach, is the URL.
Okay, but
And that, whatever email you want to use will be fine.
okay, but if I'm having trouble with making a new photo, should I make a new account?
Sorry.
Because when on Infinity, it said it would let you have 3 accounts.
Yes, you can try that. The new folder was working with this problem I was having. So I usually do is click the new button here and new folder. Test 1, 2. Test 9, 8, 7. So maybe just give it a couple tries. It is a free account, you get what you pay for, so there might be periodically trouble, and if you have trouble doing something like that, Zach, just let me know, we can extend the date. But you could try another account, or
I was just curious if it had to do with what I named the new folder, if why it wouldn't let me make it.
it could be the naming problem. It is a Linux machine, so you cannot have spaces. Windows will allow spaces, but Linux won't.
I didn't use spaces, I just typed class. Or,
That should be allowed. New folder. Yeah, it might have just been down at the time. It's
Okay.
in
thank
Great.
you.
format, and there's an editor there and things, but let me try uploading this from the Mac. What's a quick way to get these files over here? Oh, I'll just use Drive. I don't know why I have to think about that. I have Google Drive installed on all of my machines, so that I can pretty much instantly move files between them. Copy that onto Drive. And now I'll go over here. Uh-oh. There he is. I just tried to do it too quick. So right before class. Why did you do that? Copy that. That's strange. Maybe that's related to whatever is preventing that. Um, okay, just errors all over the place with this. Let me try this one. I don't even really need the second page for what I was going to try to show. An unexpected error occurred. All that. Is that up to date? Okay. Okay, well, that's annoying. One page went through there. Just getting errors left and right. That could be part of the issue. It's not uploaded. I'll have to look into that, but I'm not gonna waste class time on it. And the error I want to show, I'm quite confident will occur on its own before long anyway, because it's a really, really, really easy mistake to make. Let's see if uploading it here works. Okay, must be a setting on my PC. I guess I'll just use the Mac today and figure out what's going wrong by next week. Some sort of setting. If somebody else is getting that same issue where it shows everything uploading, and then it just sits there. It's not receiving the confirmation back is the problem that was causing. But it should be as easy as what I just did there. Just drag it over there. The file appears, shows it's on there. Then when we come over here and open the link, we can see if you don't have something called index.html, you'll get just a generic table of contents page. So you might want to make a table of contents page that looks a little bit nicer on your own. That's not at all what that file is supposed to have on it. Oh, whoops. Edit back. Okay, I have no idea what that error was about, but it looks like the files are transferring over. So that's a good sign, but apparently something's wrong with the PC, so I'm just gonna close that so I don't use it today until I figure out what's going wrong with that. Whoops, I was still on the meeting, wasn't it? Yep. So, I guess we'll just start a new example to look at the next topic today. Done it to see these things a couple times. Get rid of that one. It's going to cause problems. And I'll choose because the other one's apparently not, something's not going right there. But we're just typing text, so any machine, all the machines should be quite capable of typing Unicode files. We just need some sort of text editor. I'll use Atom here. Continue using Atom. Most of your text editors will also have things to organize your files that go together. Like in Atom over on the left, it's got an extra navigation pane. Asking about projects. So we can kind of set things up that way. Notice there's new files or add a project folder. Some do that to create the thing today. So that looks like a good place to set up. I'll create a new folder. Class example. What is that? 26, 126. You see over in that left navigation pane, set up the folder. So now it's going to try to default and save all the files that we create right into that. So looks like there's a new file started here. So first thing I always like to do is go ahead and save it. To give it that .html extension, that way the computer knows what it is. And I just closed my PC. Something that often confuses people as they're getting started is when you go to save things on a Windows machine. I guess I can point at the button right over here. Your Windows machine going over here. So get those out of the way. I'm sure there's a text editor on here somewhere. It's probably on Notepad++ on here. Yep. There's Notepad++, so if you need to remote access the machines here in the lab, Notepad++ is on there at least to do the HTML stuff. Which that's a good idea anyway. If you're heading into IT, there is, oh, I have to install it. I was not expecting that. If you're heading into IT, anywhere in IT, there's a good chance you'll need to do remotely access machines somewhere. And our labs here, I'm in lab 158A. We also have lab 162, which are School of IT specific. It's separate from the regular Ivy Tech account, Ivy Tech network. And they're all set up with Beyond Trust, so you can remotely access these. So it might be good practice to do that. On our Ivy Learn site, under modules, there's a page I made called Video Lectures that has a link to the PDF describing it, and I made like a 10-minute video going through the steps. It's really easy. The steps are straightforward. I'm just going to put some stuff here. The button I wanted to point at is when we go to save stuff. We'll find a place to save it. And this got this where save as type all types, or originally it said text file, or we could choose from a list. What that option does, that doesn't automatically put it on there for you. What that does is adjust what type of files we can see. So, whoops. If I save this, I'll save it here. Normal text file. Save. So it appended the .txt extension on it. When I go to save again, if I switch that to maybe an HTML thing, you'll notice we can't see it. So what that drop-down option does, it really adjusts the filter of what you can see in the window to see which files are already there. You can dig through there and look for the extension you want, but it's a really, really long list in most text editors. So it's a whole lot quicker just to type it. And if you know the extension, you can just go ahead and type it without any worries. For whatever language you're working in. Okay. I'm going back over to one of the computers that I'm in front of the camera for. And we'll just kind of set up, start setting up our example. So it defaulted to that folder I just created as part of a project, which is a good idea to organize things. Every week for the homework assignments you're going to do, you're going to keep updating the same site. You probably want to keep different versions. Like I think near the end, there's start showing different features. So like chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, they'll keep going back in like chapter 7, they'll say open the chapter 6 files to modify them. And then when you get to chapter 8, it doesn't say open chapter 7 files, it says go back to the chapter 6 files and just does an alternative thing. So you'll probably want to keep them separate and just set up a project or a folder each time to keep them separate. I need some sort of name here. I'll call this index.html. And as long as the folder, when we put it on the server, as long as the folder has a file called index.html, or there's several versions of index we can put it, PHP, ASP, a few different ones. As long as that's on there, all we have to put in the URL is the folder name, and then that file will open by default. Any other name, you'd have to reconfigure your server to expect that name. And some of the stuff we've seen. So we want to tell the computer that we're going to create an HTML file. Then we'll create some HTML tags. I do have the predictive text turned on in this one. And did you notice that all I typed there was the letters HT, and the computer did all the rest of that. I already put the head and the body section in. Which if you haven't thought of it yet, I mentioned that every file we create, it even did the doc type declaration. So I can leave that doc type declaration I tried to put in. I got all that just from the letters HT. Let's do that again so you can see it. But all of that stuff is gonna go in every file we write. So even if your predictive text is turned off or something, when I just get practice trying to remember all the stuff, then it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and set up a template to start with. That way you're not starting with a blank file every time. Because all of this stuff will be right there exactly every time. But you can see I'm using Adam. And if you don't have the predictive text turned off, you get all of that from 2 letters. What language we're typing in. We're using the left or right direction. It's a good thing that popped up because I probably wouldn't have mentioned that until like odds and ends at the end of the semester, that we can change which direction we're typing in and things like that. Some metadata, that's a good idea to let the browser know how the file is encoded. So it's coded in Unicode. And we'll see more and more stuff in the head section. I expressed the point already that the basic separation is the head section. You can think of that as like relating it to a human. Head is more like the mind. It's the inside stuff that we can't see. And then body is what we can see. The title tag is something that goes in the head section that we can see. And what that is that's the words that show up on the little tag. There's also a fade icon. We'll see that here in a couple weeks, whatever week images are the main content. I think it's module 3. I have to check the list to be sure, but that also is the little icon that shows up in the browser tab. So you might want to name a good name here, class example. Because if you don't put a title in, it just shows the file name in the browser tab. And that can look a little confusing. Then we need some stuff on the body. I'm just going to put a couple paragraphs here and I'll do a quick sketch on the board for the idea of what we were talking about the other day. Reiterate some of those points. Anything that can be made in a class, can fit in the time constraints of the classroom, could be done without a plan. That's for sure, because we only have 8 weeks in total. We could probably do an 8-week long project, just making it up as we go along without much trouble. Plans are much necessary as projects get a lot bigger than that. Under tight time constraints, so we definitely won't see the big things where we would absolutely need a plan. But if we turn that around, anything that fits in the time constraints of a classroom is going to be easy to make a plan for. Just take a few seconds. And there's a couple lines on there you want to pay attention to. So the goal, make an HTML page with semantic tags to use for introducing CSS, cascading style sheets. That's our goal. And then the other 2 lines I made a big point about the other day, that in a classroom, these are as trivial as can be. We're in a classroom, our budget is obviously going to be $0. And our timeline is, I tend to go right down rabbit holes sometimes and start talking about other things. So we'll say 20 minutes, give a little bit extra time, probably take 5 minutes and 5 or 10 minutes without the sidestepping. As trivial as can be in a classroom, the longest that would be end of day, or on like your semester long project by the end of the semester. But in the real world, that's the only 2 lines your clients and your managers care about. When do they get it and how much does it cost? So in a classroom, you can practice that. Start off just taking random guesses about how long you think something's going to take you to make and assign a dollar amount to it. Then after you make it, double check that, see how far off you are. And then on the next thing you do, make those guesses a little bit better. And subsequently, it'll eventually get to where you're getting really good estimates at that. Then we get out in the real world and are making things. Managers and clients will be very, very happy if you can accurately predict budgets and timelines and the initial offset before you really jump into the project. Something that a lot of people might not get exactly right on the first try. Those numbers that people care about end up with lots and lots of refinements as the project progresses. And then people have seen that so much. Clients and managers have probably already seen that so much. If you can do those numbers accurately, they're going to be very, very happy. So I'm just going to do a quick sketch here. We'll put a header section up top. Then I'll put in an article with a couple paragraphs in them. Run out of room, so I'll just put pair 2, some sort of image. I'll put a little stick man here for an image. And another article. Paragraph 1. Put 2 paragraphs in there. And then maybe a footer section. That'll probably get us a good start. Just a few tags to work with. We'll throw some random words in the paragraphs. And then I'll start there and work outward. Remember, that's called bubbling. Throw some random words in the paragraphs. Stick those paragraphs in an article container. So we talked about that the other day for years and years. First 2.5 decades or so of HTML. The only division tag we had, ways to split up the page, was the div tag, div. And well, if all the different sections of the page were named the same thing, it get a little confusing. So with HTML5, they added some useful names on the div tag, which are just useful names. They're not restrictions. We could put the header and footer here and then call these up at the top and bottom articles. That's only going to confuse you though. So. And what those are is essentially tags that hold other tags. So start putting this together. The head section looks okay. We'll come back. We'll have some stuff to put in the head section before the end of the day. The metadata we're going to talk about later. I think starting around week 4, we'll add another piece of metadata every week, every module, starting in module 4 or sometime around then. So one thing I do like to do myself, as programmers, we're controlling what the machine does. That's another point to keep in mind. The people who choose software development pathways, programming pathways, something where you're going to be doing a lot of controlling the machine. People that choose those pathways for a career often have that little, at least a little aspect of their personalities that they're the type of people that like control. So when you're on a team of software developers and get into a meeting, remember everybody in that meeting does have the personality traits that, they are the type of people that like to be in control. So it's a room full of people that want to be in control. Keep that in mind as you move into software development thing. It's not bad issues. It's just something to keep in mind that everybody that chooses programming probably has that personality trait to them. And if you keep it in mind, you can be a lot more patient whenever the meetings start to get stressful or something. Hopefully. But with the control thing, the way I drew this picture here, everything's in the body. But the body tag is a restriction, so it has to be there. So one thing I like to do is wrap all of this inside of another tag that I do have control of. And then that tag is just nest inside there and takes up the full space of the body. Because it is a tag that I will actually have control over. The two most common ones to do with that are either going to be main or content. Seem to be names that fit with that. So I'll probably switch back and forth this semester between using those. I'll just call it content for an overriding tag, the content of the page. And that way, the outermost tag of the stuff that shows is something I do have control over. We can put style rules and stuff on the body, but maybe that's just a personal choice thing, but it's also something you will commonly see in reference material and in other places. So I'm definitely not the only one that chooses to do that, I guess. So now I'm just going to follow the picture. Up at the top, we need a header section. And I use predictive text. Yeah, I use the header. And notice it fills it in. So what's next? Then I put an article tag to hold a couple paragraphs. There's articles, sections. Maybe I'll make one of those sections. I'll do one of them an article and one of them a section. Or, well, we'll get to that in a moment. I think I wanted to have two article tags. So as I start typing article, when it's on the predictive text, when I type it in there, it goes ahead and sets up. I didn't put any angle brackets, so it from the predictive list was just the letters, and it had angle brackets, and then this class tag, which is one of the things we're going to talk about at length after we take a break here in a half an hour or so. After this is set up and we're ready to move on to the CSS stuff. Then I'm going to put an image on there because websites are about text and graphics, so I want to have some image. I don't have a source yet, so I'll come back and get one. And notice the predictive text this time did not put a closing tag. It only put that opening. It only put the opening tag because we talked about that the other day. The image, we're sourcing the image, so we're getting all the data every time, which means nothing's going to be nested inside of a full set of data we get from somewhere else. Every time they've redone a standard, they've tried to put that slash there. They tried to put that in thing. Other markup languages do require it, but there's always a backward compatibility issue. But eventually they'll find a workaround for that. And we gave two attributes that we're going to need for the that are expected to be needed for an image. The source, which I'll jump over in Google and just find her in a picture in a moment. And then the alt text, I kind of alluded to this some the other day. This is America, right? We have something called the Americans with Disabilities Act. So government sites definitely. Anything big enough to be called public. So even like private colleges, they're big enough that we can call them public still. So they're definitely required to follow those laws. Once your business hits a certain level of certain number of customers, you're required to follow those laws just like you were a government institution. So it's legally required for some people, and it's accommodations for disabled people. So it's just kind of rude to not do it in general, especially the little ones that aren't going to take much effort. And one of those is alt text on an image. Is how do blind people navigate the internet? They use screen readers, right? So it's reading off the screen, and it works fine for the words, but the images are kind of a problem there. So that the alt text is something you always want to do on your images, and put in a description for the screen reader to read. That way, if somebody with sight impaired issues is listening to their screen reader, it doesn't hit a strange gap or just say image and then move on, not tell you anything about the image, especially if it's relevant to what you're doing. But some sort of message that lets vision impaired people, is that the correct term? Yeah, I think vision impaired, that lets vision impaired persons on your website know what that image is about. So I'm just going to make the alt text a random picture for an example site. Doesn't take much to type a few words, and it's just a really nice thing to do. I shouldn't even say nice, it's just, it's not being rude to people with visual impairments. Should put it that way. Oh, we need an image to put there. I'll go ahead and mark out all the text first. That's just one of the things with the way I like to work. So I'll hit the end tag to get the end. Going down the plan, another article tag. So I'm gonna have at least 2 of them when we get to the CSS. So I'll start typing article, and since the opening, closing tag up, everything. Include that class attribute. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because that's one of the main things we're going to talk about when we get started with the CSS here in a few minutes. And then the footer section at the bottom. Now we can put some text in here. I guess a good place to start might be the footer. Since my cursor is already there. So I'll set up a paragraph. Class example. Put ... and then my name. Francis 2022. You'll probably know what goes in that ... right? Those thumbnails are all kinds of in the way. That might be a little bit better. That ... there in the footer is quite likely going to be a copyright symbol. Everything else in that paragraph is no problem. So able to type that. There are special symbols we need. The textbook has a section about them. Some of them are definitely abbreviated. In general, we use ampersand to get to things, and I think our textbook probably shows amp copy. Let me save this and kind of open up the page. I'll open it from here. Nope, I don't see it open with. And I don't think this is configured to run. So I'll just open it from Finder. So you can see when that picture didn't load. Oh, yeah, that's the other advantage. If the picture doesn't load for some reason, like a typo in the name, or the file got deleted, the alt text shows on the page, so it's not just the missing picture thing. So it looks like it started out okay. But come back over here, might want the copyright symbol here at the bottom. And I think that's one that's common. So I believe our textbook abbreviated it. We start with an ampersand, then type the word copy. And in the latest, or actually one back, go to 5.1, the HTML standards, they did ask that we start putting semicolons here. It still works if we don't put a semicolon, but that does mean something to the machine. So it's a good idea to put those in there. It's part of the latest standard, and it's a fairly new edition, so it hasn't stopped working if we don't put it in there, but it probably will at some point in the future. So now if we reload that, you see this copyright symbol. There's a few of them. Or that list that we have abbreviations for isn't an exhaustive list. We can also just type in the Unicode value. There are three that I remember, and I don't bother to remember which one goes with which, but three very common Unicode symbols that aren't on keyboard that I might need. 167, 169, and 176. Those are three that I use a lot. And just to make it easier to remember, I just remembered the three numbers and don't even bother with which one's which, and then check. One of those is the copyright symbol. So if I do 167, oh, and for Unicode, we need that hash tag before it. So I usually read that something like amp hash 167. But that basically that means Unicode character 167. So one of the three that I memorize, but let's see, that's the section symbol. So for like legal documents or organizing notebooks or textbooks, we have section something, section 2.3, or in legal documents, section 8A, paragraph 4. That symbol is a useful one to have. I also remember 169. And these are just the three that I found show up a lot. So I remember the numbers. And 169 is the copyright. And 176 is the degrees for temperature. Those three I found I use quite a bit, and they're not on the keyboard. Not directly on the keyboard. That's not gonna show up on here. I have this keyboard. Mess of chords here. You can also input Unicode characters. A lot of people aren't really aware of this. If you have a full keyboard with a number pad over here, if you use the Alt key and 176, it has to be the right Alt key because we have two Alt keys. So like if you're in Microsoft Word, you can push Alt 176, and that would insert the degree symbol like what's on there. And type in the Unicode value. A lot of people don't know that, but on my laptops, I don't have a number pad, so I can't just type that symbol. 167 was the thing. Another one I remember up in the 900s. Maybe I put in 912. Oh, more than that. 950. I think I picked 4. Oh, that might be too far. Or is it after that? Oh, those are all Latin symbols. Maybe I'm remembering it completely wrong. I was trying to get to the Greek alphabet, but oh, there it is. 916. So 916 is delta in the Greek alphabet, and then it's an alphabet, so it goes in order. So 917 is epsilon, and just go through alphabetical order to get to all of the capital Greek letters and then the lowercase Greek letters. Those are just a few that I memorized because they show up a lot. So then like 926 would be a capital iota. And it's an alphabet, so when they put it in Unicode, it goes right in order. 942. When we're back to as a, or is that new? I think that's a new. It's a bad font on it, but it just goes right through the alphabet, so we can count through the letters, Greek letters. That's what I do a little bit more often, because there's the list of the ones we have an abbreviation for. I believe our textbook mentions those. Probably want to use those. You'll probably want to use those getting started. But the Unicode values can be very, very useful, and they go in the same way. Ampersand, then hashtag, number sign, pound symbol, whatever you want to call that particular character. It has seems to have more names than any other character on the keyboard. I usually say just hashtag anymore. And then the Unicode value is another way to get to the symbols. And you don't need to know all of them, but there's a good chance there's a few that are going to happen quite regularly for you. So it might not be a bad idea to remember the handful that you use quite often, or like something so that you can find them. Okay, there was a Greek alphabet. 912 is the fourth letter in the Greek alphabet. So y'all should be able to tell me very quickly how we get to an alpha. If we know 912 is the fourth letter, we just count back and get the first letter. And just remember like a range of something like that. The early 900s are the capital Greek letters, followed by the lowercase Greek letters. And I'm going to watch fonts. We'll see fonts very, very soon. I'm going to spend half a day talking about fonts. So there's a lot of things we can do there. In Times New Roman, like I pointed out there, some of the Greek letters look very, very close together. Lowercase new and an uppercase theta look almost identical in Times New Roman font. All right, so what's next on the page? We got those articles, maybe a header page. I'll come up to the header, do the top here. Maybe a level 3 header. And again, my predictive text is turned on this machine because I wasn't necessarily planning on using it. And you notice the difference there, that some of those things, whoops, that was supposed to go in the header. It's been a few minutes. If you remember back, whenever I used the predictive text to put in the header, it automatically put the closing tag a few lines down. But if I use the predictive text to put in an H3 heading tag, it puts the closing tag right next to it. So the predictive text is kind of, it kind of has certain expectations of how we're going to use our tags, like the words that we want to be a level 3 heading sort of font. It's probably going to be a small header section, a small set of big words. So we're not going to have a line break in those. But the header section itself could have lots of things inside of it. It's probably going to have a big set of words for the heading, and then a small set of words for a subheading at the least. I'm just going to do a big set of words. Class example, January 26, 2022. Just small header in there, and just kind of filling out this page. I'm kind of doing it accentuated, but notice that I'm not going in order. I'm not going left to right, top to bottom, the way the English language works. Because we're not in the English language here. We're in the HTML language. They're not the same. So the final result needs it to be top to bottom, left to right, in the order the computer has to have it in. But that's probably not going to be the order we think about it in. So jumping around can be much more productive. So now in the article tag, I'll put a couple paragraphs. This is the first article. In that paragraph, and another one. Here is the second paragraph in the first article tag. And I'm just going to let the random words get descriptions about what it is. They're just random filler for right now. And then to match the picture on the board, a couple paragraphs down in that article tag after the image. Way down here is the second article tag, and this is the first paragraph in it. This this paragraph just contains some random words to hopefully be long enough to wrap around the screen. That sometimes takes a lot of words. Maybe that's enough. We can reload it and see what that looks like. Okay, yep, got word wrap. That was all I was looking for. And most of your text editors, they can just keep going right off to the side, which is very, very useful when we're looking at that outer edge, like all the tags, and we're looking at the order it goes in. But if you wanted to edit that paragraph, that running off to the side might be a little bit confusing. So in whichever text editor you're working in, remember to make a note of where the word wrap for that text editor is. Because running off the side is very useful if we're looking at the tags and the overall layout, but it's kind of a headache to edit the paragraph like that. So we can turn on word wrap, edit the words in this paragraph, and maybe the next one. One more paragraph down here to finish everything up with enough words in it to once again wrap around to the next line for the paragraph. Paragraph way down here at the bottom of that second article element. Or if you're just doing like a random example where you just need some filler and don't feel like going and copying the lorem ipsum or something, it gives you a comparison so you can see about how many words you need. There we go. That kind of matches the picture on the board. And you see, it did not take long at all to set up that plan. Pick some numbers. I can already tell my timeline was a little bit off. I seem to get distracted occasionally, but that's an easy adjustment. So that gets most everything on there except the picture. So I'm just going to grab a random picture. Celebrity. What sort of celebrities can we find pictures of today? I don't know most of those people, so I look through there. Oh no, I'll go back to landscapes. That looks nice. So just a random picture from off the internet. And we will talk about addressing soon because there's multiple ways we can do it. We can do absolute or relative addressing, or we can, later in the semester, we'll see where we can set up a base URL and refer to everything kind of the same way. So for now, I'm just going to save it kind of in the same place. Oh wait, that file's not going to work. Has anybody else seen the Google Images that started doing that lately? They have things that aren't pictures, and we can't use them as pictures. And I'm usually in a hurry, and I have not yet noticed any place where it indicates what type of file it is. Oh, once again, that's an HTML file. That's not going to be any use to me. If they put a filter on here where we can see like actual images and stuff. Oh, did I click the wrong link? That's probably why. I might have clicked save link instead of save file or save image. This will work though. Landscape. And okay, that one is .jpg. Maybe it's just me using the computer incorrectly that keeps doing that. But that gives us an image we can load in. .jpg. I made a typo there on purpose and forgot about it when I went back over here to type. So here's that case sensitive thing. I'm on the Mac today. I think my Mac is set to be case sensitive. So it is something you want to watch. If you're working on a Windows machine, they are definitely not case sensitive. Oh, well, that worked. The file is landscape.jpg. I must have kept that box checked. And when I put it in the code, I put landscape.jpg with a lowercase l. And it appears to work fine on the Mac here. And that gives us a start for a page. We've seen all that stuff before. So kind of a review, talking about things, looking at the semantic tags in more detail because we talked about them. We didn't really see a whole lot of them. We started out the other day. So for now, let's go ahead and throw this on that server. And then afterwards, or then we'll take a break. And after the break, well, all these words are just the default font. It looks like it might be Times New Roman there. There's something with one of the serif fonts loaded on the computer. It's the default for MacBooks. The default font, all black text, same size. We make it look a whole lot better than that. Everything's left aligned. It only stretches out as far as it needs to. So we'll start styling it after the break. That was the point of this. Oh, that's a big ad. Close that ad. And yeah, once again, I'll try to do some shopping so that it stops, so that it predicts something else in the targeted advertising, because that's getting old. Come over here, and I should be able to upload that folder with the whole project in. Once I move the thumbnails out of the way, there they go. So there's the project, upload that. I'm in the right spot. Yes, upload. Yeah, it must be a setting on my PC that I forgot to change or something that's preventing it from uploading. So it looks like it's on there. We come over here and check. Get the pictures out of the way again. There we go. Oh, there's this issue with that picture though. It worked fine locally. When I put it on the server, it didn't want to load. Which I'd already talked about that and made that typo on purpose to express that point. Linux is case sensitive. So we do have to make sure everything is spelled exactly the same way. So if I come over here now and upload a file and just replace, oh, whoops, not that one. Upload a file and replace the index page. Upload and replace. Well, I'm at it. I'm going to get rid of those extra files. That one. And delete. Oh well, it won't hurt to have it on there. There we go. So fix that case sensitivity issue, and the image looks fine again. So that is something you'll definitely want to watch out for. Most of our servers are Linux machines, and they're very case sensitive, and most of us might not be used to working in a case sensitive situation. So keep an eye out for that. And always check your extensions too. Because depending on the other piece of software, it might, like for a thing image, it might be .png with lowercase letters, or it might be .png with uppercase letters, or it might be capital P lowercase ng, depending on the software that put it together. Or in a JPEG, it might be JPG, or in the case of this one, JPEG. Depending on the software that it was saved on. So keep an eye on that. And again, just like JPEG, the upper and lowercase letter differences. So that gives us kind of a review of things we've seen so far, uploaded to the internet. The page looks pretty boring. I guess there's one more thing we've seen before. That image is really, really big. So here with our attributes, and notice that style, there's the name of the attribute is going to be assigned. That's what the equal sign means, some string. Same thing here. The alt attribute is assigned this string. And we also have width and height attributes. So like width is 345 pixels. Oops. 345. And height is 189. I just made up some numbers there. Hopefully they're good. They'll look okay. Won't be too small. There we go. That way the picture's not overwhelming in sight, but the words are there. They seem to be in the right order compared to that picture I drew earlier. It's kind of boring. Just a bunch of black letters on a white background. And the image, everything's over it, just lined up at the left. So we need a way to add some style to that. So that's the other main thing we're looking at this semester. Styling the web pages, not just getting the words there. So we'll get started into that next, but looks like it's a good time for a break. Does 10 minutes sound good to everybody?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so yeah, we'll get back to it at the clock on the wall here says 2:16 right now, it's 2:25, but the computer's a little bit different. Computer says 2:17, so at 2:27 on this computer right here, we'll get started again. I'll see y'all in a moment.